In this video, we're going to provide an update of my trading 2-on-2 portfolio. This is my individual stock portfolio and supplements my main portfolio, which is with Reinvesting, and that's invested in global funds, global ETFs. Whereas this portfolio is invested in a small selection of stocks which I truly believe in. It's been a while since I did an update of this portfolio and a lot has changed. I've made a sale of one of the stocks, I've invested a little bit more, and of course there's been so many big changes in the markets. For example, only in the last week, Trump was elected again as the US president. And of course this has made a huge impact on the markets and likely a huge impact on the stocks in my portfolio. So I wanted to do a quick update to go through these changes and go through where my portfolio stands today. But before we get into that, if you're new here, I'm Finch, a management consultant by day, and on this channel we like to discuss all things personal finance with particular focus on how to grow your money. If you'd like to follow my own personal finance journey with regular portfolio updates of my Reinvesting and trading 2-on-2 portfolios, as well as a bunch of other personal finance related content, then I'd greatly appreciate you subscribe. But for this video, let's get into it, and let's start by taking a look at what's been happening in the markets before bringing up my portfolio. I'm recording this video on Saturday the 9th of November, and this week has been very good for the markets, particularly in the US, with the S&P 500 up by 4.7% this week, leading to it reaching an all-time high. This performance, this bounce this week, was mainly in response to Trump's victory in the presidential race, as we can see a huge jump between Tuesday and Wednesday, during which period the results came out regarding the next president. The markets are definitely perceiving Trump's victory and his pro-US business agenda as a good thing for stocks in the short term. However, it's yet to be seen whether this impact will be positive for the stock market in the medium to long term, particularly for companies based outside the US, as Trump is planning to put in place unprecedented tariffs which will surely make it harder for non-US companies to sell their products to the biggest market in the world, in America. We'll just have to wait and see to see the long-term impact of this Trump presidency. But nonetheless, in the short term, it's been a great week for the stock market, and I hope to see some of this positive performance in my own trading 2-on-2 portfolio. So let's bring up the app and take a look at the performance. We can see that I now have a balance of just over £1,087, and the return of the portfolio is positive. I'm up by £212.87 in pound terms and just over 24% in percentage terms. So the portfolio is doing relatively well. And in terms of the performance, since I last did one of these updates, we can use the graph feature here to see the changes. So over the last 3 months, we can see the portfolio is up, but there's been many changes. At the end of August and start of September, the portfolio was creeping up in value until I made a sale of one of the stocks, and we can see a big drop there until that was reinvested. Then the portfolio again crept up in value in early October, before I made a small deposit of around £160, which increased the portfolio value. And since then, the portfolio has been creeping up until the last week, where it's done well as a result of this Trump bounce. We can see there was a big jump on the Wednesday following the news that Trump was re-elected. And this isn't surprising given the stocks in this portfolio are US stocks, US companies, and of course Trump's agenda should benefit US companies more than any companies in the world, as he's got policies potentially which are negative for non-US based companies but are positive for US based companies. In terms of the changes I've made to this portfolio, if we go down to the individual stocks, we can see that this portfolio now has only 2 stocks in Alphabet, Google's parent company, and Microsoft. I've sold the 3rd stock which I had during the last update, which was ServiceNow. If we go to the history section of the app, we can see I sold my ServiceNow stock on the 16th of September. And the reason I sold is because I became uncomfortable with how high the PE ratio was for this stock. Of course, the PE ratio is a key valuation metric, and it was over 150 at the time I sold, and even the forward PE ratio was at over 55. I really like ServiceNow as a company. I think they're doing great, and I think they'll have good future growth. But I just became a little uncomfortable with how high those key metrics became, and I thought it was time to make a sale, as I was happy with the profit I made. I was up by over 40%, I made over £100 in pound terms, and I was relatively pleased to take my gains and reinvest it elsewhere. If we look at the fill price, I sold at a price of $876, which I was happy with. However, if we now look at the current price of ServiceNow, it seems that I made a bad choice, as the ServiceNow stock is up since then, and now it stands at a value of £1,008. So I'm not very good at timing the markets. This shows how hard it is to time the markets, as if I waited a little bit longer, I could have made a bigger profit. But nonetheless, I have no regrets, as I was happy with the return I made when I made that choice to sell. And I'm happy with what I've done with the funds too. If we go back to the history section, we can see that shortly after I made the sale, I then reinvested the money into Alphabet. And the reason why I chose to reinvest in Alphabet is because I think the stock is slightly underpriced. I think it's underpriced because of the uncertainty which is going on at the moment regarding a potential breakup of Alphabet and all of the products within the Alphabet umbrella company. There was a court ruling in August which found that Google, aka Alphabet, used illegal tactics on its competition to dominate the online search market. Since then, the Department of Justice has been considering how to resolve this, and one of the solutions proposed has been a breakup of the Google Alphabet business. Of course, this solution being proposed likely hasn't had a positive impact on the share price, but I'm hoping that once Trump becomes president, he sticks to the agenda he put forward during his presidential campaign of pro-US business policies and prevents the breakup, and maybe explores alternative methods to resolve this which don't have a negative impact on the business, and most important to me, don't have a negative impact on the share price. Although it's hard at times to trust what comes out of Trump's mouth, he did say at an event in October regarding the potential breakup that if you do that, are you going to destroy the company? What you can do without breaking up, make sure it's more fair. This suggests that he's not in favour of the breakup, and I'm hoping he follows through with this. If the breakup is prevented, I see Alphabet as good value in terms of their share price. So I'm taking a bit of a bet here in hoping the breakup doesn't go through so that I can make a good return. In terms of the other change I recently made to the portfolio, we can see I made a small deposit on the 24th of October of £163, and I invested this whole sum into Microsoft. Microsoft is another company I truly believe in. I believe in their future business model. They have many great revenue sources, and of course, they're leading the pack in terms of AI. At the moment, we don't know the scale of opportunity for AI, how much revenue can be realized from that, but Microsoft are in a good position to exploit the future opportunities in this field. In terms of the performance of the two stocks in my portfolio, we can see that I have just over £671 worth of Alphabet stock, and I have a return of over £118 in pound terms for this stock, and over 21% in percentage terms. And there's no surprise here that over the past week, this stock did very well for the reasons we went through earlier regarding the Trump bounce and the potential for Trump to prevent the breakup of Alphabet. This stock is up by over 4% in the last week. It's a similar case with Microsoft in that it's done very well over the last week. If we click on it, we can see over the past week, this stock is up by over 2.9%, and I have over £416 worth of Microsoft stock. And in terms of my return for this stock, I'm up by over £94 in pound terms and over 29% in percentage terms. So the two stocks I have in my portfolio are doing relatively well, and I truly believe in them in the future. Of course, they only make up a very small portion of my overall investment portfolio, as most of my investments are on Investengin's platform in ETFs. But I'm going to keep invested in these two stocks and potentially invest more, particularly in the next ISA year, as my personal plan for this ISA year is to max out my ISA with Investengin, and then the next ISA year I may have some further funds and further capacity to put money into my Trading 2 and 2 portfolio and into these individual stocks. If you'd like to check out my Investengin portfolio, I have a recent portfolio update around here. And look out for my next video, as that will be a comparison between my two favourite investment platforms in the UK in Trading 2 and 2 and Investengin. But for this video, thanks for watching.